has Zimbabwe entered a new political era. Following the passage of Constitutional Amendment Bill No. 3 through Parliament, a fierce debate has erupted over what the proposed changes could mean for the country's democratic future. Critics argue the bill could fundamentally reshape Zimbabwe's electoral system and the balance of political power. Supporters insist the reforms are constitutional, lawful, and intended to strengthen governance. Among the biggest questions now being asked are these. Could the proposed changes affect how future leaders are chosen? What does CAB3 mean for presidential term limits? And is Zimbabwe witnessing a major constitutional turning point? Stay tuned. Before we continue, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications for daily Zimbabwe political news and analysis. Let's get into it.
In favour of a bill that postpones elections. The next election was set for 2028, but with this new bill, it will be pushed to 2030 instead. That means Mnangagwa's presidency would automatically be extended by 2 years.
The result of the count is that 75 honorable senators have voted in favor of the third reading of the bill, and 4 have voted against the bill. The number of the affirmative votes recorded is not less than 2/3 of the membership of the Senate. I therefore declare the final votes in the Senate of the Constitution on the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment Number 3 Bill HB 1B 2026 to have been in accordance with the provisions of Section 3285 of the Constitution.
Well, there are 80 senators in Zimbabwe, including the Senate President. That means 79 senators who voted, and 75 of them chose to pass this contentious bill, even though Mnangagwa's party, the ZANU-PF, only has 33 senators. 27 are from the opposition party, the Citizens Coalition for Change, or CCC. But most of the opposition senators broke ranks and voted for Mnangagwa's extension anyway. It was the same story during the vote in Zimbabwe's National Assembly, or lower house of parliament, last week. There wasn't a need for opposition defections then. The ZANU-PF already controlled more than 2/3 of the assembly. But cross-voting still took place, and the bill sailed through the lower house with 216 votes in favour and just 42 votes against. Reports suggest this is because Mnangagwa and the ZANU-PF have brought a large number of the opposition politicians under their fold. This seems to include all but 4 of the senators. One of the CCC members who voted against the bill even made an impassioned plea.
Parliament's duty is not to make the work of the executive easy. We are here to hold the executive accountable. We are not extension of government. We are representatives of the people. The Constitution is therefore not a document designed for the convenience of those who govern. It is a document designed to protect those who are governed. That is why constitutional amendments must always be approached with caution, humility, and unwavering commitment to the national interest.
But it seemed that the appeal fell on deaf ears, even in her own party. So there is really no stopping Mnangagwa from extending his reign, at least not by Parliament. Therefore, it seems the 83-year-old will rule until 2030, at the very least. However, it could be much longer. There is another clause in the bill that could help the crocodile stay afloat even longer. The provision ends direct presidential elections. Zimbabwe's president would not be voted in, but Parliament would select the president instead. That essentially makes it a parliamentarian system, with the Prime Minister called the President instead. A similar system exists in South Africa. So it definitely isn't unique, but in Zimbabwe, what it do is insulate Mnangagwa from the will of the people. As long as he controls the parliamentarians...
Zimbabwe's Constitutional Amendment Bill No. 3 has become one of the country's most controversial political developments in recent years. After lengthy debates, in both the National Assembly and the Senate, the bill has generated strong reactions from politicians, legal experts, civil society organizations, and citizens. Supporters describe the legislation as an important constitutional reform. Critics argue that some of its provisions could significantly alter Zimbabwe's political system and deserve close public scrutiny. One of the central concerns raised by critics is the future of Zimbabwe's electoral system. Opposition politicians and constitutional commentators have questioned whether the proposed amendments could affect future elections and the process by which national leaders are chosen. Government officials, however, maintain that the bill follows constitutional procedures and should be understood according to its actual legal provisions rather than speculation. The bill has also renewed debate about presidential tenure and constitutional safeguards. Some critics argue that constitutional changes should always be approached cautiously because they can have long-term consequences for democratic institutions. Supporters respond that constitutional amendments are legitimate tools available to Parliament and should not automatically be viewed as threats to democracy. Former President Robert Mugabe's long period in office is frequently mentioned during these discussions. Some commentators have drawn comparisons between past and present constitutional debates, while others argue that each political period should be evaluated on its own facts and legal framework. Those comparisons remain matters of political opinion rather than established conclusions. Political analysts say Zimbabwe is now entering an important phase in which constitutional interpretation, legal review, and public discussion will continue shaping the national conversation. Questions surrounding governance, accountability, democratic participation, and institutional reform are expected to remain central topics. Supporters of the current administration point to development programs, infrastructure investment, agricultural initiatives, and economic reforms as evidence that the government's focus remains on national development. Critics continue emphasizing constitutional accountability and the importance of preserving democratic safeguards. These competing perspectives are likely to define public debate in the months ahead. As Zimbabwe moves forward, many citizens say their greatest concern is ensuring that constitutional processes remain transparent and that institutions continue operating according to the rule of law. Whatever one's political position, the future direction of the country's constitutional framework is now firmly in the national spotlight. In just a moment, we'll play the full video discussing these developments. Watch carefully and decide for yourself what the proposed constitutional changes could mean for Zimbabwe's future. What principles do you believe are most important when a country considers major constitutional reforms? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you enjoyed this report, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications for more Zimbabwe political news and analysis. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the full discussion.